The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast. I'm Matt Martelli, and today we're down in Ensenada just before the Baja 500, and I'm here with two-time Dakar winner, AJ Jones. What's up, man?
What's going on? Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, this is pretty cool. We decided to take this mobile because we knew everybody was going to be down here for the race getting ready, and we've already seen half of everybody out here.
Right.
You had a little drama yesterday, I heard. Tell us about your pre-run.
Oh, man. Yeah, yesterday was a big day for me. So, I mean, I'm doing from 270, so like the second half of the race, I'm splitting it with Seth. So I'm doing only 270 to the finish, like 470. So jumped in yesterday, wanted to check notes, had my dad riding with me because my co-dog isn't down here yet, so my dad hopped in with me. Wanted to check all the notes and like confirm that everything was all good. We get in. I made 300 notes because I had rode the first day. I made all the notes, and I'm like, all right, you sit there, read me notes, good. We go through like 20 miles, and he reads like 2 notes, and he's like, I can't see this, like the screen is too small, the writing's too small,
he's used to doing it Jesse Jones style.
Exactly. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm just gonna kind of do a quicker pre-run today, and just kind of see if I remember everything, and just kind of go through like not a race pace, but faster. And so we're cruising along, having a good day, everything's all good, and then at mile 415, like 15 miles away from getting out of Europan and then getting back on the highway and heading back, I'm like, dude, we're going to have an early dinner. This is going to be it's a nice day. And coming around the corner and steering let go on me, unfortunately. We went left. I turned right. I was just a passenger at that point, and we drove up onto like the side of a mountain like this, and then boom, on the lid. So a quick day turned into about 7 hours of sitting out there waiting. Had to call on the sat phone back to the guys, and they sent up a steering rack. And at that point, the sun had gone down, and it got pretty chilly out there. So me and my dad, we made a fire, and we were just basically sitting there hanging out for 7 hours by the fire, waiting for parts. So, yeah, it was an eventful day yesterday. But, I mean, hey, it happens sometimes.
Well, it's funny because who'd you get yanked out by eventually, right?
And that's the best thing. So out of everybody out there on the entire course, I hear a truck coming, and I'm like, all right, it's probably someone I know. It's a truck, and it's Bryce Menzies himself. I'm like, yes. And he looks at me. He's like, what did you do? I'm like, yeah, sorry, dude. Steering let go. And like we took off the rack and we checked it out and stuff, and the whole thing, it had a critical failure. So that's definitely a bummer, but we'll be able to fix that with some ideas that we have. But, yeah, Bryce came over, and he yanked us out, flipped us back over because we were in a bad spot, like right in the center of a track.
Blocking the course.
Blocking, yeah. Like that's what we were saying. We're going to be real popular sitting right here. So he rolled us back over, got the car going straight, and then pushed us off to the side. So it's definitely a good time with Bryce. And I wouldn't want to see anybody else coming over the ride sets for Bryce and Oren. I was stoked. So it was funny.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about like racing, but also pre-running right now is like you're going to have problems. Everybody has problems. You're getting around the course multiple times, and like the camaraderie here is so cool. Just doesn't matter who you are. People walk up to you and talk to you. We were out earlier at K77 testing a new Jimco with BC and my friend Ryan, and some local racers just walked up to us and they're like, hey, can we look at the truck? Started broing down, they're like inviting us to their house in San Felipe,
Nice.
like, you just make friends along the way. But it's just really cool, man. It's like a big family.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's one of the best parts of off-road racing in general, but especially down here in Baja because, everyone's out here. We're all fighting Baja. You know what I mean? So
First, yeah.
even though we're all racing against each other and there's different classes and different things, we're all out here trying to survive the courses that these guys are, making for us that we have to drive through, which are tough,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, the camaraderie and everybody hanging out and sharing stories and stuff, it's one of the best parts of it.
Yeah, you talked about it earlier. The South Racing guys are here doing your program, and they're kind of new to our American off road, right? Or versus the rally raid and rally stuff that they're doing. Talk about that process because when they get here and see what we're going through, it's like holy shit.
Yeah, so these guys, so I ran the 400 and the 1,000 in the South Racing car with these guys. So they've got, a couple of races, but different mechanics, different engineers, that kind of stuff. So I'm trying to tell them, I'm like, dude, it's gnarly out there. And they're like, yeah, stage 8 of Dakar was gnarly. And I was like, yeah, I mean, stage 8 of Dakar was gnarly. But this is different. This is rock your teeth out of your mouth going from here to here, because it's so rough. And they're like, what, like rough? I'm like, dude, it's gnarly. So, yeah, I've been trying to kind of explain it to them, how some of the race course is. And I want to take them all out for a ride and just basically have them sit next to me and me go smash them a couple of times through some whoops and then they can see. But, yeah, it's hard to explain and to have the European people with that mindset of rally raid and everything being a lot different, not easier, not harder, just different.
Sure.
To come and check this out and prepare the car like that and just kind of logistically wise, where we need to be, pits and stuff like that. It's a whole new game. So it's kind of fun, teaching these guys how to do this and kind of because I've been over there in their world for the last couple of years.
Sure.
So now they're over in kind of my world, and I'm like, dude, check this out. Check this out. We got to go here, here, here. Look at this and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, which is rad. I love that exchange. I mean, one of my favorite times in off-road racing was when Armin Schwartz was here, right?
Right.
And he was adapting his rally note system and how he drove and really learning. And boy, once he got it dialed, I mean, he beat all the trophy trucks in a Class 1 car in San Felipe, which I still don't think is possible, even though I saw it happen. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. It's they've got some good drivers over there, and on the other side of the world and stuff. So. Yeah, it's like when Toby and Nasser came over and those guys raced. I mean, they
almost won the 1,000.
Exactly, they killed it. And that was their. I mean, Tobes has raced a couple of times down here, but I mean, Nasser, that was his first time, and those guys, they killed it. So
yeah, I was there for that, and I was cheering them on, man. I was super stoked. I was really impressed with how well they did. But of course, they had you and your dad setting them up with a good vehicle and kind of coaching them along the way. So it wasn't like, hey, good luck,
Right.
There's a little bit more guidance to it, but it was still really cool to see, now he's in, a trophy truck ride, so, yep. In a brand new Mason, that's going to be interesting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's going to wheel that thing. And I mean, you saw it in San Felipe, he killed it, qualified first. So
he did really well.
Yeah.
They had a little mechanical failure.
Yeah, it's such a bummer for them. But, once they get everything figured out, I would say, dude, watch out for those guys, for sure.
Well, so you've done, really well in both disciplines. I mean, for a lot of people, they don't know the championships you've won in 6100, and then you went and pursued Rally Raid, and I mean, you're the underdog there, right? And I don't think. I mean, this is me talking as looking at the whole scope of off road. I don't think anybody ever expected you to come there and do what you did, not just winning Dakar, winning stages once, but twice, right?
Right.
And then being really consistent. I think, like we were talking about earlier, you're not the big social media guy. Hey, I'm gonna go do this,
Yeah.
and blah blah. But you walked it like you talked it, man. So what was that like?
Yeah, definitely. At first, for the first 2 years, really a year and a half or something like that I was over there. Yeah, it was brand new. I have no idea what's going on. Stage racing I'm like, this is pretty cool. This. I crashed my first 4 rallies over there, like on stage 1, stage 4 I'd crash, and then, stage 10 I'd crash. So, it took a while to figure it out. But once I figured it out, I kind of have like a nice little process that I do that I think it's been working well for me so far. But yeah, to be able to win 2 Dakars, back to back in 2 different classes, it's crazy. It's hard to believe that, this has all happened so fast. But I love it, so I'm happy about it.
I mean, obviously, like we're friends, and I'm friends with your dad, and so for me, it's personal, but it's also really cool to see, that this process happen where it was like, okay, the first American win was, Casey,
Yep.
and then you again, right?
Right.
And now I think that's turned a lot of heads. I think a lot of Americans are like, okay, it's possible. Like we can go do that, And so it was really funny. I was talking to Sarah Price about this, and I was like, man, it's really time for Team America. It's time for some American corporations to step up and back our drivers, because like our talent pool, Seth, Mitchie, on and on, and then there's a couple hundred people behind you that started, in either UTVs or in trophy carts now, right? Which you had some time in as well, right?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit.
So it's cool to see this process happen where like it's really now a youth movement. And I think I was at the Mint. I pulled you guys up on stage, and I was telling the story of sitting there with Ciro Dupre and watch you guys come through. And one of the stages when the Saudi went, or I'm sorry, when Dakar went to Saudi,
right.
And he was like, I don't understand why are these so fast? And I'm like, bro, we have hundreds of these kids coming.
Exactly.
So the days of like, you retire from rally and then you have a nice career in rally raid. I don't know that that's going to work anymore because of all these kids coming that are hungry for the opportunity.
100%. And yeah, that's one of the cool things. I mean, the first Dakar win, it definitely, it helped out a lot. It's like Casey, obviously, he started it. And then after my first win in 2022, more and more people started to figure it out. And then it seems like after this year, dude, it's blown up. Like,
yeah.
I've got so many American people asking me, like, how do I do it? Like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm in. We can see that we can go over there and drive. And for me, I'm like, oh, dude, like, there's some fast guys talking to me about this, So once people start catching on to this, it's going to be a lot harder. And even within the last couple of years, with Seth starting Rally Raid and stuff like that, Mitch and those guys coming over, dude, the speed is ridiculous. Like everything, it used to be like, I mean, when I started, it was pretty fast, but I mean, you could not always be just 100% just kill mode for 500 kilometers a day for 10 days. Like you could pick and choose places where you needed to go and stuff.
Right.
Dude, now it's like WRC stages all day, every day for 12 days, 14 days. Like you got to go. Just because everyone else is, and everyone's so fast. So it's definitely the sport. Like especially in the UTVs, the T3 and the T4 class, it's evolved so much, and
it's gotten really competitive.
It's so competitive,
That was one thing. Like obviously, this year was the first year of the Sonora Rally being part of the series, and the organizer Darren Skilton is a good friend and really an advocate for Rally Raid in the U.S. And I was really curious to go down there this year and see, how it was, and it was very interesting to me because it was a very casual atmosphere and everybody was friendly. But then when it came to the stages, man, it was intense, right?
Yeah, it's a dogfight, because we're in these bivouacs, which is like the pits. And after every day, everyone's all cool, everyone's chilling, everything like that. But then, dude, during the day, like during the stages, everyone is fighting for seconds, for minutes and stuff. We had stages in Sonora where it's so gnarly that like the first 5 guys are all within the same minute,
Yeah.
So we're close. So it's definitely hard.
Do you think that, what you've learned in Rally Raid has made you a better racer here?
Oh, for sure. I think that being in Rally Raid, it's taught me tons of patience. And then, to be able, like having that many days of overall racing like that, like being in the car that long, it helps with like endurance. And I think it really just helps overall with mindset, like being relaxed in the car and not just like full kill, like I used to get in the car and like if I'd get a flat, I'd like freak out and be like, all right, you know what, day's over, race is over, like we're all done. Now catch flat, you're like, all right, change that. Like I still got this much to go. You know what I mean? I don't even remember it after 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
so yeah, it's really changed my mindset quite a bit and chilled me out a lot. And I think you do everything better when you're not stressed out and when you're chilled.
I mean, what is it? Did it make you kind of, well, raise your confidence of, going and, again, having the championships and the big wins here in 6100, and that's a super competitive class, but then switching disciplines, right? And,
Right.
And like you said, it wasn't instant, you're taking it in the teeth, and it's
for
like,
sure. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, man, all right, like we showed up, crashed out stage 3, like, what are we doing? And then, to get through that threshold and win Dakar. And then the other thing is, you know as well as I do, like, people get wins, and the worst thing about just the nature of people is they're like, well, he got lucky, or, well, this guy wasn't there, whatever the case it was. And I'm like, I hate it when people do that, because those people that are usually doing that, they aren't racers. And they've never accomplished something like that in their life. So they're just like haters and doubters, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's just something that you got to learn to deal with. Like again, that used to bother me a lot, and now, it doesn't really bother me. And what really helps that is winning it again the next year. That's the number one thing that's helped with that is backing it up.
You're like, here, hold my beer, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. So
yeah.
for
Anything
everyone-
else? You want to say anything else, right?
Yeah, for everyone that said anything about last year, well, here, well, what are you gonna say about this year?
Yeah.
Because we just did it again. So,
Yeah.
that definitely helped a lot with all that. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. There's a lot of people that have a lot of opinions, and you just gotta learn to deal with it. But
Yeah.
it's annoying sometimes.
It annoys me,
Yeah.
right? I'm a naturally aggressive person, and I'm like, all right, let's go outside,
Yeah,
and like
exactly.
can't settle everything like that. But I mean, going back, like I remember meeting you at short course race when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And you were there watching your dad's short course race. Did you think, not obviously not then, but did you think as you were getting into this that you were going to end up being, a champion in 6100, a Dakar winner, and like whatever else comes next?
I mean, not really. Like honestly, no. I had no idea like about any of this. I was always I went to college to play lacrosse. I did that kind of stuff. I wasn't into. I had never even worn like a helmet and really drove in a race up until Parker 2018. Like that was my first time.
Right.
And at that time, I was just I wanted to have fun. I didn't really I was like working for my dad in the shop and stuff like that. So I was around the cars and stuff like that, but I had never raced. I never really knew like what was up, and then started driving, and I'm like, okay, like this starts to make sense. This starts to make sense. And then I look at results, and I'm like, okay, I'm doing pretty well. Like at first I just wanted to go and have fun, go drive around, and I thought it was cool, something cool to do. And now it's like this is my full-time job, and I'm gone 200 days a year out on races wherever it be Mexico, the ones in the United States, or the rally stuff obviously takes up most of my time overseas for so long every year. But yeah, and I really didn't think that this was all going to happen, but I'm happy that it did because it's not so bad.
It's pretty badass.
Yeah.
It's pretty badass, and again, like knowing you and knowing your dad for so long. I mean, your dad is one of those guys who, never got his big win, right? He got some big wins, but everybody was like, "Look, this guy's a gamer. He goes down there and he does more homework than anybody else, especially in the ball races." And it just the Baja 1000 win eluded him, right?
Yeah.
I remember because I like to encourage people. I'm like, okay, then go back, do it again. He goes, no, I've already done this. It's called driving to Baja and it sucks. Or
Yeah.
driving to La Paz and it sucks, right?
Exactly.
So it's really cool to see, the relationship between you and your dad. Your dad's here with you, helping you prep, but like we were saying, sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, right?
Yeah, that's definitely gotten a lot better too. But yes, first starting out, I mean, he was, a coach and, the main sponsor at the time and stuff like that. So there was a lot of, not pressure, healthy pressure. It was good, more just motivation. And
Sure.
He obviously wants me to do the best that I possibly can.
I mean, it's undeniable that there's tension because nobody shows up to a race going, hey, I'm just going to be in the back. It's a race.
Exactly.
Right? People can talk all they want about how, our goal is to finish, and really in the back of their head, they're like, but if we beat Bryce Menzies, it'd be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the other thing too is like my dad, like, although he never got 1,000 win, which I mean, one day he might still. I mean, I rode with the guy 2 days ago. The dude can drive.
I know.
He can drive. So
I know.
Even though that, he never got that, I mean, he's won a lot of other stuff, and he is fast, dude.
Yeah.
And it blows me away. Like, I started out riding with him before I even drove, and I'm like, is this what we have to do? Like, I can't do this.
We do this pace.
This is crazy,
Yeah.
So, yeah, and like, then that's the thing is like, with me starting out, it's not like, he's not just like, yeah, go drive around and have fun, do your best, He's like, you should do good. You're my kid. You gotta go.
Exactly.
And I'm like, fuck. All right.
Yeah. Well, especially because, what you've achieved, with any success comes more pressure, but that's the nature of the beast. I mean, you obviously love this, right? Because you don't necessarily have to do this, but, what is it, about this that you love,
I like driving. Like I like being behind the wheel. I like going through super sketchy, situations or super sketchy corners and terrain at like a really high, volume of speed. And I like the precision that it takes. I like that, like hanging it all out. And if you dip a tire this much, or if you do this separate, you know what I mean, then you could be done for. I like driving. Everything else like. The traveling is really cool too. Obviously, with the rally stuff, I like to travel and seeing the whole world and being able to race through basically, the whole world. That's been a huge part of it. But when it comes down to its core, like I'm the happiest when I'm behind the wheel, helmet on, and we're just cruising along and doing sketchy stuff.
It's funny. I mean, I talked to other racers about this, but I really think that it's much different in off road, right?
Yeah.
The flow state or the zen or whatever you want to call it, like once you get into it, it's like it's a high.
Yeah, exactly. When you bang a couple of corners together or you go through a section, I killed that. I killed that. And then I look at the next section and I'm like, I'm gonna kill this one too,
Totally.
And that's you get into a zone where it's like I have the navigator and I'm listening to notes and stuff like that, but it's like I'm in a different world. Like I'm locked in, like I can feel the whole card, everything. You know what I mean? It's like you get into that zone, and it's like, dude, it's on, and that's the best right there.
No, totally. It's funny because like even today, I only got to drive a little bit, and we're just cruising around, and that section after 78, and you go back out, and it's all tight through the trees and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I just want to go drive.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately, we were there shooting some stuff, so it wasn't playtime, but. Still that little piece of it, I'm like,
yeah, you're like, let's go. I miss this. Yeah.
Well, you've also spent a lot of time, in the garage prepping. I mean, do you think, being hands-on with the vehicles gives you, an advantage?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think that's a huge part, and I try to tell like people ask me like, what advice do you have for people trying to get into racing or younger people and stuff like that, and dude, get your hands dirty because that's huge.
Sure.
If you understand what makes the car work, how it works, and if something breaks, you're able to fix it, And
Sure.
off-road, we break stuff. And in rally raid, we can rip off an arm, and then if you get out and you fix it quickly and you get back on, you can still win a rally. You know what I mean? You're not out by any means. So, being a good mechanic and having a good idea of like how the car works and what it likes, what it doesn't like, how to not stress it out, like what limits you can push and stuff like that.
Sure.
I think that's huge. And I think that that's helped me quite a bit.
When you're driving and you feel something and because you've been doing all the prep and the mechanics of the car, do you like generally know what it is? Does that give you kind of like, okay?
Yeah, so like when we're out on a stage and I can feel something different, I can generally diagnose what it is pretty quickly. Like just by how it feels, what it sounds like, what I can feel, how it's acting. Like I would say 99% of the time I know exactly what it is as soon as it happens. And that's the other thing too, is I know that do I need to stop, or like will this live? Is there something that I can do about it to the point where we need to stop? Or can we make it live to where we need to go? And then you kind of assess how far you got to go and what parts you have with you and like kind of an idea of what you can do. And then based on that information, we can either keep going or stop and try to fix it.
So, we were talking a little bit earlier about like rest of the year. You're going to do Vegas to Reno. Are you doing the 1,000 as well? Or that interferes with one of the rally rates, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. It's right after Morocco, and I'm getting married
Nice. Congratulations.
right before that.
Nice. Kind of a big thing.
Yeah. And that's something that I got to go to.
Yeah, don't miss that.
Yeah, so it's like right after that, so I wouldn't have time to like properly pre-run and and stuff like that.
You can take one off for that.
And that's what everyone keeps on giving me shit for not racing, and I'm like, dude, I'll race every single one for the rest of my life.
They're gonna be there.
Yeah, exactly.
They're
Just
gonna
this
be there.
one, give me a break.
Yeah,
man.
I'll let you guys win this one.
Exactly.
No, that's awesome. And then, are you doing Dakar again this year?
Yep.
Okay.
So so Vegas to Reno, a couple scrambles here and there.
Yeah. You were talking a little bit about the Red Bull Hair Scrambles are really cool.
Yeah, the Red Bull the Scramble series, it's fun. I've never done like proper short course and fast cars and stuff like that, and that's basically what it is. They set up these tracks all over America in the crazy terrain. Like we did one in Texas on like a proper moto track, but then we just did one in New Jersey, like right
on the beach, right?
On the beach, yeah,
that's rad.
It was sick. And I've never really done like stuff like that, so it's different.
Yeah.
And I'm working my ass off, and I'm getting like sixth, and I'm like, all right, this is fun.
Well, dude, it's funny because I was watching who the drivers were. And then when some of the guys who do a lot of short course, the Corbin Levertons and they started sliding in there, I'm like, okay, watch out.
Those dudes are ripping.
Yeah. Well, they also know like cars set up for short course, and like it's a whole different beast.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's no shame in that. So it's fun. Like those guys, like getting out there and like just ripping, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, like I gotta catch up to these guys, So it's a whole different thing, and I've come to like it quite a bit. So it's so different from everything that I've ever done that like I want to do more and more. So
yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I mean, especially at such a young age, there's so many because of your success. I'm sure it's opening up more windows. I mean, what are your plans for the future? Move up to cars and win Dakar overall? Or let's just map it out here. Yeah. Win the Baja 1000, win the Mint 400, win all the races overall, right?
Yeah, that's the goal. Obviously, is eventually move up in the cars, the T1 cars.
Sure.
Need to find myself a ride.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. But right now Can-Am, I've got a really good deal with Can-Am, and I get along really well with all the people over there, and they treat me good. So I'm really happy with them right now. So for the next couple of years, I'm happy where I'm at with Can-Am. But eventually one day, T1s and back into trophy trucks. It's weird because starting trophy trucks, go to spec trucks, then Can-Ams, mix in a little trophy truck here and there. So
that's been a pretty good path, though. Really, like it's worked out.
It's like this,
right.
Yeah. So like
it's I would say that's the kind of the Jesse Jones map, right?
That is exactly right. That's what it is. Like the very first time I ever drove a trophy truck was about an hour before we ran San Felipe. Whoa, so I pre-ran the whole time, and then he used to have that Geyser all-wheel drive, that fireball, dude.
Yeah.
And I'm like, about an hour before the race, it's like, all right, let's go shake this thing down. and it's like, oh my God. And then they're like, all right, yeah, get up there. You're about to start. And I'm like, no way.
For people that
No
don't
way.
understand, I mean, it's literally like handing some kid. How old were you at the time?
Oh, I'm probably 21, 22.
Right. So you had a 22-year-old kid an F-16 fighter jet, like fully loaded with weapons. You're like, go have fun.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, don't die.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And then, of course, at mile, we were going good for a little bit. And then at mile maybe 50, smashed into a tree, ripped the brake lines off. Just, everything broke loose. So we ended up finishing, but it was gnarly.
Yeah.
So then the spec trucks. And
Then it was like,
yeah. And
let's take it down a notch.
Exactly. And then I would go and race a bunch of rallies and Can-Ams and stuff like that. And then it's like, oh, you know what? We just got the Mason all-wheel drive belt, with the Gibbs motor. That thing's a fireball. Let's go race that. You good to go? I'm like, yeah, I'm good to go. Tested it. Good. Qualified. Good. Go to the race, and then I kickflip that thing at like mile 20.
Right.
Yeah. So, and then we go and then win Morocco in the Can-Am. So it's just like, and then go back to testing trophy trucks, and like we're ripping the whole time. So it's just like, it's crazy.
What?
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
I mean, it's a roller coaster. I mean, emotionally too, like emotionally and mentally, it's like, what's that like?
It's hard. It used to bother me a lot. Like I used to get super, super down on myself because I'm like it'd be like every time that like we didn't win a race or like something happened that wasn't ideal, like crashing and or ripping something off or not finishing where we wanted. It'd be like the end of the world. Just like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is dumb. I need to go get a real job. Like, I need to do something else. Like, I'm done with this. Then I'll chill for a little bit, like go back out, go drive around and be like, all right, yeah, this is what I want to do. I love this,
100%.
So it's, and now it's like, these things happen. With the success that I've had and stuff like that, I think that it gives me confidence to the point where it's like, hey, you don't suck. Like, you should be doing this. You can do it. Just, some days you have bad days, and some days, everything doesn't go right. So now, obviously, it bothers me because, I'm competitive and I want to win.
Sure.
And I want to do as good as I possibly can. And, there's a lot of people that are here for me, like with their time, and a lot of companies, put a lot of time and effort and money and everything like that into me. So it's like I want to do as good as possible, but at the same time, I know I got it. So just you can't have it every single day,
Right?
So some days just aren't your day.
Well, I think that's just the thing about being a champion. It's like what you're capable of, right? Because now it's not like, oh, we'll see. It's like, no. We already know. Now it's about going out there and doing it again and again and again. I was talking to Rob Mack about that, about like what, why that consistency part of it's so important, and that's the dichotomy of racing. It's like, oh, cool, you won this year or last year, right? And everybody's trying to like push it back into history. Because it's like, like Dakar, like, cool, you won it, you come back to America, and everybody's like, where's the parade?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, it's like, and then it's like, a month or 2 months later, everybody's on to the next thing, right?
Exactly. It's so crazy, yeah, because like, I don't know. And it's crazy, like you're saying, like we come back, where's the parade? It's crazy how big Dakar is in like every other country. Like people that, like my buddy that I race with, that he's from Lithuania, like he got second in Dakar this year in his class, and he met the president. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's shaking hands with the president of Lithuania and stuff like that. And like, I see other people and they have like full news cameras, like, and, everything is there. Like they're on TV and stuff like that for a month afterwards. Like when they're in the airport. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because if you see this process, and it happened with, bicycle racing, right? Mm-hmm. And, it's like nobody remembers who Greg LeMond was, right?
Exactly, yeah.
But he was the first guy, who went over and won. And then it's like, everybody sees the guys afterwards. So now we've had, Casey win once, you win twice. We've had some really good competitors in bikes. The big car programs are still eluding us, only I think because our factories or our big manufacturers are a little bit not understanding what's at stake. I feel, right.
Yeah.
And I think it's time. I think it's time for Team America, to activate.
Yeah.
and take the talent pool that we have in front of us, and go over and do it in a Ford or Chevy or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Because I really think that, there's a lot of amazing drivers, and I love the confluence between the disciplines, like the guys that move up from bikes, to cars, the guys that come in from rally into rally raid, or the rally raid specialists, and then mixing that in with American off-road. I like that competition. It's like Olympics, but I feel like a little bit better because stylistically we're radically different. We're big tire, high horsepower, unlimited, freaking Metallica, right?
Right.
And they're over there and they're like, this is jazz, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this for 14 days. We can't run that hard or that fast, So it's got its, like, everything's a little bit unique and cool. Like I was really impressed going over to Saudi for the first time because I had no idea. I'm like, how are these guys going to do this here? How are the crowds going to be, and how is the whole thing going to work? And man, I'd like to hear your opinion, but like after seeing the terrain there, I was blown away. I was like, I remember going through this wash, and I'm like, this is like Matomi Wash times 10.
Exactly.
Right? I was waiting for like dinosaurs to come cruising down it,
Yeah, that desert in Saudi, like I've raced a lot of places, like around the world, a lot of places, and that is probably the best like off-road racing terrain there really is. Other than obviously Mexico, love it here, but like they've got good stuff over there. Like the dunes are sick. Dunes are really nice. Some of the canyons, like you're saying, like the washes and stuff like that. I mean, it looks like you're on Mars.
Yeah.
Like it's insane, and like just the amount of desert they have there and the different things. We've raced Dakar 4 times now in Saudi. We've done like same areas, and like I kind of familiar. Like some stuff is familiar, but I mean it's all completely different. So like, I don't know, like it's one of the sickest deserts and like one of the best places to have an off-road race, I think, in the world.
Yeah, it's funny. Like as a promoter, obviously we're super invested into America, but I travel and my mind goes. And right before the pandemic, we were in China, and we're in Inner Mongolia. We're not even in the Gobi Desert.
Right.
We're not even into the big stuff. And just in Inner Mongolia, the thousands of miles of racing that we could do in this just one area I was blown away.
Yeah.
And the variety of the terrain, we were in these dunes that weren't even like, they're like, oh, these are like our baby dunes. I'm like, we just drove 90 miles in one direction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
90 miles. And they're like, this is small. I'm like, okay, show me your big stuff, Yeah,
exactly. I wonder what the big stuff looks like.
Yeah.
And then that's like, dude, I raced that Silkway rally. And
that's right.
We went into China, and those were some of the biggest dunes I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
Were in China in that Gobi Desert. Like crazy sharp, crazy high, like hard to drive in. I'm like, I can't believe we're in China.
Yeah, the dunes that I was in there were big. They're Glamis kind of scale, big dunes. But then in Dubai, over on the Liwa side, like that was crazy. Honestly, there were points where I was scared.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, I know, like I grew up riding dunes, but navigationally, like the way the sun sat, you couldn't see the sun when you go into the bowls.
Right.
And you're like, wait, am I east or west? And then the guys who were hosting us, they weren't hanging out. They're like, we go this way, and you keep up, right?
Exactly.
So it was interesting and definitely a rad life experience. And I honestly just want to do more. I want to, go to all these countries, even the ones that I wish didn't have such strife going on, like Afghanistan. I've seen a lot of video and photos from Afghanistan, and it looks amazing,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hope that in the future, as the world changes and evolves and hopefully some of the civil unrest goes away so we can go race in their countries and experience their culture.
100%. I mean, yeah, the whole world, there's so much cool terrain and there's so many cool deserts and just, off-road stuff in general that's so cool that if everyone would just chill out for a little bit, like we could go and check this stuff out and go drive through it.
Like that's one of the things, obviously, the conflict with Russia right now. I'm like, we were going to Russia, to go. They had a rally raid that they do there that's pretty gnarly, and I just want to go see it,
Yeah.
So, hopefully, we could figure that out and get over there and start racing.
And that was one of my favorite races. Like I did Silkway twice, and we were like in the forest in Siberia. And like I'm from Arizona. Like I'm no forest in Siberia guy, and it was so sick. Like, that terrain. I mean, all political stuff aside, I'm just talking about the forest that we were driving through. It was sick, So it's a bummer that things like that, take away these cool races and stuff like that the whole world can
that's
go and
what made Dakar originally move from Africa was the civil unrest there. Otherwise, we'd still be over there racing that.
Right, exactly.
Which, it's funny because all the OG guys are like, that was the real Dakar, right?
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Yeah, I hear that.
But, we're doing what we can with what we've got.
Exactly. I'm like, it's pretty gnarly over here in Saudi. I never raced South America. My first Dakar was in 2020, the first year they had it in Saudi.
Yeah.
So I never got to go to South America and check any of that out.
It was, it was really cool. Like, I went to Peru, I went to a few of the first stages. A lot of sand, but at that point they had narrowed it down to just Peru because the other countries weren't really participating,
right?
Which is a bummer because, some really, really cool, beautiful terrain in South America. But the thing I was honestly the most psyched about was the fans because it was like Baja on steroids. We were with some of the guys from the ASO and we were going into the main park where they were doing the start. And we're driving in, and I'm like, well, how are we going to get out? There's, 100,000 people here.
Yeah, that's what I've heard, that there are like 1 million people out there
it
on
was
a stage.
Completely bonkers, and they were rabid fans, right? And so then we get there, and I'm doing logistics in my head. I'm like, we're not going to the stage. We're going to be stuck here all day, probably into the night, just to get out. And, of course, they're like, do not worry, my friend, right?
Yeah.
And
no, we got these.
Exactly, the French accent. Load us right into the helicopter when we fly out. This is not the problem. I'm like, apparently not.
All right, Chase, number 23, it's 2023. This championship's yours. Let's show these guys what's up.
Easy, boys. It's not over yet. Big dog still gotta eat.
Whatever you say, big dog. Seriously? These fools think I'm fried?
They know the deal.
Perfect.
So it was cool. And the thing that, again, I also understand the business side of it of you got to go where the money is. These events are expensive to put on.
Yeah.
But man, the fan base there, you got a serious fan base in South America for off-road. We have a lot of friends down there, in Brazil in particular, and they're like, come down here and race with us. And I haven't gotten the opportunity. Hopefully I do. I want to check it out. I know Casey went down there and did one of the rallies.
Yes.
And looked bitchin'.
Their big one, Sertois.
Yeah, Sertois,
my navigator's, he's from Brazil and he lives down there.
Oh,
and,
nice.
He's one of the big guys that's he's not in the organization, but he kind of does
cheerleads it.
Yeah, he cheerleads it, and he does he rents cars out and stuff. He's almost like a team owner.
Oh, nice.
Down in Brazil, and that's the race.
What part of Brazil is he in?
He's in southern Brazil, so it's called Lages.
Yep.
Yeah, so he's down there, and he keeps on telling me I gotta come.
Oh, man,
I've never been.
But you're getting married. Yeah. So that's not the time to go. Let me tell you, I went down there. I spent about a month and a half, and we had a blast.
Yeah.
We had a blast. We were actually at the time signing MMA fighters for Bad Boy Clothing.
Sick.
So it was fun. And it was fun to go to guys who are my heroes and be like, here's the biggest paycheck you've ever got. Now let's go party,
Yeah.
So it was a good time. But beautiful country, really cool people, very diverse. That was the thing is one of my favorite things about traveling is you have kind of a preconceived notion of a country, and you go there, and especially when you go off-road, then you really see the country. You see the people, and you experience the food and the culture. And it was the same in Saudi. It was like, me and one of my best friends, Archie, who I talk into all kinds of disastrous adventures, went with me, and we, ASO has like very strict guidelines for media, and we're talking, and I'm like, hey, look, no offense, I've been doing this longer than you have. Yep. So, we don't need the guided tour. I just need to know the route. And they're like, well, we will not tell you the route, right?
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay.
It.
I'm like, look, if you're starting here and ending here, somewhere I cut in here, and I will find the route. And they're like, this is not the way. And I'm like, this is the way we do it.
But I'll figure it out.
So, we had a 4-wheel drive rental car, and that's what we did every day. As we were like, okay, you guys are going this way. All right, we're going to go ahead, chase in, stop by the camel farmer and watch you guys come by. It was bitching.
Yeah,
it was, I cannot recommend it more. There's a lot of Americans this year that I think are going to go back with me just to, have the experience. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's sick. No, definitely got to get down there for sure. Yeah. For sure.
No, it's badass. Well, so, we were talking a little bit about future stuff. Just the rest of the year, you're here to win the 500, right?
500, and then at the end of August, I'm going to the next round in the World Championship for Rally Raid. It's in Argentina.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we'll have a 5-day rally down there in Argentina at the end of August, and then what's next after that? Vegas to Reno, and then Argentina, and then Morocco in October. And then that's about it for the year until January Dakar.
Well, then you get married.
And then
So are you going right to honeymoon after marriage?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where are you going?
I don't know yet. Gotta figure it out.
It's gonna be rough because you've already been to all these badass places, right?
Yeah. So we're trying to find a place, and that's funny because I can't take her everywhere, obviously, because it's work. But some of the fun rallies and stuff I have been able to take her with, and like the shop in South Racing headquarters is in Portugal. So I've taken her over to Portugal and stuff like that a couple of times, and yeah. So now I'm not sure. That's my next thought.
Nice.
Yeah, got a lot on the mind.
Well, I would recommend Sicily. I did Sicily this last winter with my wife and my niece, and we're in southern Sicily, and I was like, these people have it figured out.
Yeah.
I think I should hang here longer,
It's pretty dialed over here.
But Portugal's high on my list because, it's a very off-road centric country. And, I've met people from there, and they've invited me. And then I did a little bit of research on it, and I found out kind of some of the backstory of off-roading there. And then I didn't know this, but apparently there's a Toyota factory there.
Yeah.
And I think the story is it was a Ferrari factory. Mm-hmm. And they started making the Toyotas because the Middle Easterners wouldn't buy Toyotas from the Asians. So they made them in Europe, and they're like, yes, they're still Toyotas, but they're European made by the Ferrari factory. So all the Toyota Land Cruisers and stuff you see in the Middle East, those all come from that factory. And obviously, there's very little pavement in the Middle East, so they're off-road vehicles, right?
So they're all 4-wheel drive.
They're all built, right? And so and Toyota Hiluxes that for whatever reason we can't get here, but
the Hilux is king over there. There's a lot. Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to Portugal.
Oh, for sure. There's so many, and I've been over there testing and stuff like that, and they have so many cool trails and stuff like that. A lot of it's forest out there, and they have so many sick trails, and I've done a lot of testing, and they have races all the time. And those dudes, the local guys, are fast. They're super gnarly. They don't care. I rode with a couple of them, the Portuguese champion and UTVs and stuff, and I went in his Can-Am with him. And, dude, we were whipping around trees. And I'm just like, all right. It bothered me. And, this is what I do, And I'm like, oh, dude, you are sketchy. Those trees are not going to move when we hit them. You know that, right? And so, that's huge racing scene over there.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. Yeah, trees are scary. They scare me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not big on trees. I'm an open desert kind of guy. Yeah.
Well, That was awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with the 500. Hopefully, come back with a W.
Yeah, I
and
hope so.
on and on, man.
Sweet. Thank
Thanks
you very
for doing
much.
this, brother.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah, right on. This was rad. Have me back whenever.
Definitely.
Sick.
Cheers.
See ya.